So hopefully you've enjoyed the last few days. I certainly have. I know it's been rather intense. But one of the things that we really wanted to do with this meeting was give almost everybody the chance to present their science in front of a really diverse group of people. And for us to really give feedback to each other. And I think we've had quite a good share of that. And of course, there's been lots of discussions in the evenings at the dinners and sometimes in the pool. Um, and that adds another level of detail when you're sitting in a pool and discussing science with someone. But I think one of the things that's kind of really nice about the community that we have here is that they're a really friendly bunch and they're very ready to discuss science no matter the time of the day or the location. So I just wanted to emphasize that this is a dated slide because now I see we've got all these extra people now that are helping. But this community that we've been trying to sort of develop is something that personally I've really thought was critical to maintaining and pushing this field forward. And so you're all part of that, but without sort of the unifying force that Jeff's newsletter has really brought to the table, and of course David with the blog and Maxi with the artwork, and of course I can't just name those three because there's many more contributing to this now, but those were the pioneers and they put a lot of work and effort into something that really, there was no financial gain from this. It was just work, but they did it because they believe in the field and they believe in sharing the science that we do. And I think that's something that slowly but surely that momentum is building as we recruit other people that really are helping drive this forward. And so, one of the things that I thought we should end a little chat on, a little discussion, is really about how to continue to develop our community. And so obviously with that growing online number of resources that we have, and Jeff's mainly focused on the papers and some of the artwork, but there's talks on there, there's data sets, there's lectures, there's all sorts, right? Like there's jobs. Like it's a great place to go just to hear and understand what we do as mathematical oncologists. So this is the second in a series of conferences that Kristen and I have run, but it's really the seventh in a series of conferences that we ran through the Cancer Systems Biology and the Physical Sciences Oncology Initiative. And part of the motivation for doing those conferences was I realized we're in these big programs and there's all the biologists and their colleagues are presenting their work and there's model here and there's a model there. Maybe we should get those people together so we can talk to each other, right? And so slowly that built momentum. And then we realized that there's a lot of people beyond those programs who do this sort of science. Why should they be cut out of it, right? We want to bring them on board. But there was no way to do that really through the NCI. And so that's why Kristen and I started this conference in a sense to bring a bigger community together. But it costs money and it takes time. And so we had this idea of doing it every year, but so far it's now been every other year. But one of the things that we've noticed, and I'm sure if you go to SMB or ESMTB, you'll see there's a very large cancer component, right? It dominates the presentations. And that really, for me, indicates that the field is ripe for an opportunity here to start something new. And so I think that in terms of the conferences, should we move to an annual schedule? Would you go to an annual event like that, right? And because and the idea here is it's to be global, so that event can be anywhere in the world. So far, we have 3 possible hosts for Europe in 2026, different places in Europe. I'm not ready to pick one of those because one of the things I'd like to do is establish a society for mathematical oncology who are then going to actually decide which of those 3 would be the best place, because that's what it should be. It should be driven by the community for the community. And so, there's a few people here who know a thing or two about running a society. I'm not going to point fingers, Heiko. But the facts are that past presidents of the Society of Mathematical Biology have done a couple of these things, but we never had to define our founding bylaws, right? But that's something that we will have to do. We've got some things that we can start on. We want to have a board of directors. We want to cover the entire field as best we can. We want it to be not Moffitt centric. We want it to be fair and unbiased. And then something that Chris and I have personally took on board is sort of getting a charitable designation for this new society. That's actually much more complicated a task than you might think. We could just not do that. But if we don't do that, then if we run a conference and we get money, then we'll get charged taxes on that money. And we don't want that. We want that money to be for the society then, right, to push it forward. So I guess my my point here really is if you're interested in helping with any of these aspects, including sort of leadership aspects in the society, I'd love to hear from you because we're probably going to have volunteers more than elections in this first round. But maybe if we get enough, we could send out something to people to say, who would you like to be on the board if there's such a big group of people who really wants to do it? Okay. So I'll just finish with that, but I'm going to open up to the floor. If there's anybody who wants to comment on anything that I've just said now, because I don't want to just be one-sided, then I'm happy to hear from you right now if you'd like to say a few words.
I only have one word, no. No, Sandy, thank you so much for your leadership in this over the so many years, and you and Kristen pushing this forward. I think there's an incredible opportunity. So thank you for putting this hard work in behind the scenes over many years to get to this one slide there. The question is, does SMO exist already, or is this a vision? Does it exist today?
It exists in that we have sites and we provided some of the paperwork.
Okay. And just so that's great. Of course, then if you want to have nominations and an election, as it were, so it needs to be done through a membership. So how does one become a member of this?
Yes,
Right.
so exactly. So I think we might start that sooner than the charitable status because we probably won't charge anything for membership initially, just to get people on board. And so in many ways, the newsletter could be a great way to sort of spread that word and just say, people, do you want to formally be part of this? You know, sign up, put your details in. So we've not thought that far ahead, honestly, but I think that the growing number of people that we have on the newsletter and that list has been a really useful resource for understanding where people are interested in the science that we're doing and where potentially we could focus, you know, a conference.
Yeah.
So
I mean, the only concern I have for these conferences, we must make sure there are palm trees and a beach. Any other questions?
Yes, I can't guarantee that, but I don't think there's any other.
Questions, anybody?
Oh, there's Ari wants to say something. No, but people can't hear online. And also, if there's people online who want to say something or share something.
Don't say anything nice. Good. Thanks.
So I love the idea of having a society dedicated to mathematical oncology. And so one of the things that I'm kind of curious about then is how big of a involvement are you going to want from students, and what are going to be kind of the visions around the educational aspects of such a society? So I know with larger societies, it's usually a large pillar. So I want to know kind of your thoughts on that.
Yeah. Well, I think one of the cool things about starting a new society is that we can be open to what people want in that society. But, you know, obviously education has been a really big part of what IMO personally is. And I think this conference has played a significant educational role. And so I'd like to see that as a key element of the society. Now, we could have you know, something that's organized specifically by students, for example. I mean, again, I think this is a really cool opportunity for our field. And I'm receptive to ideas, and it's not just my decision.
I have actually one follow-up as well, because I know it's a big thing at Moffitt when, we're working with clinicians. We also work with patient advocates because that's
Yeah.
a large part of what we do. Um, I more of a comment than a question, but one of the things I would personally like to see is the involvement of, these patient advocates and continuous, the broadening of our community outside of just fellow mathematicians and fellow theoretical biologists. I think that that's a huge part to keep in mind. A lot of, what we do is for these patients in the long run.
Agreed. I think something that we've always personally thought was important at Moffitt was making sure that we had patients on our judging panels for the workshop. But, conferences can be hard for, lay people. And so I think, but you could, for example, have a session that would be open to the public or something, and we could have some lay people attend that. So that, but it is, putting the patient in the picture, I think is important.
Thank you so much. I was thinking that, well, we have now beautiful data about who is who in Math Onco, and where are all mathematical oncologists clustered. Maybe we can do a little bit more of data analysis on that topic to ensure equal representation.
Yeah.
And we could probably do maybe a little, like small subdivisions of the Society for Mathematical Oncology. Engage with patient advocates more locally, because people are spread all over the world, right?
Yeah. No, I think, as Jeff, I think, pointed out in his analysis, like there's opportunities there where we're not putting our focus, we're not putting our energy, and that's a place where we probably should be. And likewise, if there's areas in the world where we see there's like one or two people, we might want to try and help enrich those areas. So I agree.
And another real quick question here. How do you envision the role of industry and like sponsors, or like how to deal with that?
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to see industry more involved, and I think we could, again, that's something that we could explicitly bring in. There was a few people because in part this review that Kevin was helping write, that are in that, they're more in the PKPD space, but they're building multi-scale models. They're much more industry focused people. But one of the things there is often what happens is that those people use our models, but we never get to see what they're doing with those models. And so, part of for me to be involved in our community, you have to be willing to share in our community, right? So I think we have to be careful with that. But there's people more and more sharing that sort of research and publishing it. But generally, our industrial friends are less likely to publish, less likely to share, and right. So, okay, good question there.
Yeah, I know. Great work, Sandy. I know you agree with this, but I wanted to point out a key driver of the success of the Society for Math Biology was the bulletin. So just having a society journal that publishes true math onco and sort of creating a discussion around what such a journal would look like and its scope and inclusion criteria is a good goal too.
Yeah, that we can assign you that one.
With the uncertainty in the funding situation currently, would it make sense to invite foundations to the events and see if they that could promote both collaboration and some solutions to the current situation?
That sounds like a great plan. We should definitely bring a big, rich philanthropy donor and people with lots of money so that they can fund us. Fully support that. Yeah, I mean, I think that's easier said than done. Do you know what I mean? So, but I agree with it. I think maybe, again, one of the things that you see if you go to a clinical conference or a big biological conference, they have all these companies that are like, selling their wares and also put quite a bit of money into that conference, right? They maybe pay for a lunch or a dinner or whatever. So I think that's something that we could potentially do, right? Again, we've not got a lot of connections with industry, but that could be a nice opportunity for them to showcase their stuff, get us to use their tools, but provided they invest in some way, right? Okay, no more? Okay, right. Well, I want to specifically say some thank yous because obviously a conference doesn't run itself. And for those of you that have missed it, we stupidly decided to organize a conference and a workshop back to back. So there's a subset of you, if you're going to the workshop, not IMO, because you're all going to the workshop, the non-IMO who's going to the workshop next, put your hand up. So there's quite a group of people here who are all going to be going for another week. And the workshop, importantly, is the opposite of what a conference is. There's no relaxation time. There's no talks. It's just non-stop work, but it's also really a lot of fun. Okay, so you've got a fun week ahead of you. So, there's no way that we could have done any of this sort of organization, and especially this sort of back-to-back organization, if there wasn't for one special lady who should come over here so we can all give her a huge thank you. So, this is Danae, in case you didn't know, but I'm sure you already did know, because she's done so much. We've got a small bouquet here to say thank you. Yeah, so as you know, the organizing the flights and the accommodation and all the food, and there's just like the list is rather long, and that's just for this meeting. We also have it for next week's meeting. So I'm going to give Danae a nice gift card, but she's not getting it right now, but she'll be getting that to say thanks from everyone for doing such a fabulous job. So thanks so much, Danae. We really appreciate it.
Yeah. So I'm gonna be the Dawn,
Yes.
the next one.
Yes, exactly.
But if anybody doesn't have an armband anymore and they need a parking pass, I have them, so see me.
Okay, yeah.
Did
So
you hear me?
if you need to get parking, to get out of the parking, use your band or she'll give you a ticket. So Danae definitely was like a major instrumental organizer of this, but there's other people behind the scenes that I have to thank. So Jeffrey West at the 11th hour was helping create all of those little clusters, those groups of talks that somehow fit beautifully together. I don't know how he did it. I was trying to do it and I was pulling what little hair I had left out of my head. I just couldn't face it anymore. And he just did it. So thanks so much, Jeff. Thanks for that. And of course, Jeff does all the websites and that whole organization, and for free. So like he's really a major contributor to our field. And then I've been torturing Kevin, stand up, because he's been the guy that's been emailing you asking for your slides, and I sort of gave him that task without warning on the second day. So thank you, Kevin. Okay, so there's box lunch outside. Feel free to hang about the property for as long as you want.